it's central to everybody. I've had doctors, psychologists, acupuncturists, nurses, chiropractors, everybody attend these courses, and they found something in them that was central that they could use with all of their either patients or clients. And honestly, I believe that what we cover in these courses should probably be a part of our elementary education. We should learn about the stages of development as we're going through them. We should learn about relationship behaviors when we're starting relationships. We should know some of those behavioral components before we get married and have a crisis that can cause stress upon a marriage or even divorce, when in fact certain behavioral changes can make an enormous difference and save marriages. But the stages of development is where it really begins, because these are not disease states, these are not pathogens that we're zapping. These are qualities that we build upon as humans in our personal development as adults, as we're growing up. We begin with learning trust. When we come into this world, we're completely dependent upon our parents or our primary caregivers to support us and to nurture us and to make sure that our needs are met. And it's the first thing we learn. Of course, if that's interrupted by emotional trauma, we might not ever learn that very important component of the human psyche and behavior that leads later on in a spiritual context to faith. And we can see people with a lifelong issue of trust versus mistrust. Again, not any kind of psychological disorder, just simply an imbalance in the way that they trust. They don't trust the world as being stable, so they create that. We learned that what our belief systems are is what we create. It's very powerful. We've got to intervene and make sure that we know what our subconscious belief systems are. And I believe that it's easier to find that out through stress reduction and biofeedback reactivity testing in order to determine what our stress reactions are, perhaps to certain subconscious belief systems, and then go in and change those, because the subconscious mind is designed to create what it knows, not necessarily what is true or false, just what it knows or what it believes. So if it has a belief system about mistrust, it'll keep creating that until we teach it otherwise. And that's what we do in this session style. It's an entrainment of some of these components of a healthy psychosocial outlook. And the second stage of development is all about autonomy. The next thing we learn how to do in life is to do things by ourselves at a certain stage of development, roughly about between the ages of 2 and 5. It's not a hard boundary, but that's what we're learning. And if we don't learn that, we can end up with a lot of shame and self-doubt. And as we get a little bit older and our cognitive functions become a little more based in logic and reason, our thinking styles start to determine our learning styles. And we get belief systems about what we're mentally capable of, for example. And we learn, after being able to do things by ourselves, after first of all trusting ourselves and then doing things by ourselves, we then can start something. We take initiative. And that's very important for us as adults in our success, is to be able to initiate something. And then of course the next stage of development is all about industry and following through with it and being productive and really taking that to a new level. If we just start things and don't complete them, obviously we are not very productive. And then of course what we really move into after that is our identity, our sense of self, who we are. And we learn that in adolescence. And it's such an interesting time because we're experiencing so many hormonal changes that it's a very stressful time emotionally. We're not yet adults, yet we're not children anymore, so we're in a little bit of a no man's land, and our identity is forming. And if we had an interruption to that stage of development, sometimes we experience some identity diffusion and continually on a path of searching for self. And even though that can be interesting and fun, we need to go back to the core essence of who we are and have that operating as a base that we can allow to bloom and grow as we continue on through life. And so those are the core foundations of what we do, but we cover what to do about it in session. If you've got some of these issues, and again, they're very central to the human condition.